I've got to record this because there's a lot of people that want to be here but can't be here tonight. So again, welcome. German Genealogy question and answer hour. Just so you know, this is copyrighted material on behalf of Family Tree Tours. And there is a handout. There is a handout that we have been posting in the chat panel and the admin panel. We will continuously post it. So if you didn't receive it, just sit tight. Also, we will send it out via email. I've talked to the folks at Family Tree Tours, Kathy and Matthias, and they are going to make sure that everyone who has registered, even if you didn't attend the live event, that you receive a copy of this. So there is a great handout. I do want to let you know a little bit about Family Tree Tours, and then we're going to bring on Kathy Worth and Matthias Uthoff. So they are specialized in travel, specifically German genealogy travel. And if you've done any German genealogy, I do. My Hennebergs are from Leipzig, from that area, and I think I'm pronouncing it right. I don't know. And I'm sure Matthias and Kathy will correct me. It starts locally first in the U.S. You've got to start in the U.S., but once you figured out your ancestral hometown, and that is what Kathy and Matthias are going to help us with, you can then start searching some of the German church books to find more ancestors. Now, some of these books are online and some have been microfilmed, but a lot of them are not available unless you go over to Germany. They may require a trip to Germany, and so we'll talk about that if you are considering a trip. And then we're also here to answer your specific questions about German research. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to bring on our staff members here and our co-presenters. There we go. Matthias and Kathy, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
We're here.
Good, great. Well, listen, I want to introduce Kathy first, and then Kathy's a researcher, a speaker, a volunteer, and she owns Family Tree Tours, which is a heritage travel tour company specializing in ancestry trips to Germany, Ireland, and other countries in Europe. She belongs to several genealogical societies. She leads the Germans in St. Louis research group. She's also been a longtime volunteer at her local LDS Family History Center. Kathy's been doing this leading tour since 2007 and has helped hundreds of people visit their ancestral hometowns. Also with us is Matthias Uthoff. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, right, Matthias?
Yeah.
And he's a Westphalian native. He's loved history since kindergarten, as he says, and has been a researcher since 2001. His special interest is finding out what happened to the immigrants of his family, the ones that left Germany. And the hot spots for his research are St. Louis, Missouri, Ohio, Nebraska, Indiana, and Illinois, including other states. Matthias is a member of the German Genealogical Societies in Osnabrück and Bremen, as well as a member of Germans in St. Louis Research Group. Matthias also serves as a co-leader and researcher for Heritage Tours with Family Tree Tours. So again, I want to welcome you both. It's great to be here, and so again, I'm going to do there's the handout again for everyone that needs it. I'm going to post it. I will be posting it in the chat panel periodically, so if you haven't seen the link, do not panic to do that. But first, I want to bring up, and Kathy, are you going to talk about American sources?
Yes, I
Okay.
just wanted to,
Yeah.
First I wanted to say thank you very much, Thomas, for hosting this for us tonight. We appreciate that. And secondly, I want Matthias to say hi.
Yeah, hi everybody, and thanks for having us.
Okay, because a lot of times I talk a lot, and I just want everybody to know that he's here, really, but we'll let him talk occasionally. But I just thought it would be a good idea. I know some people are still in the first stages of German research and where they're trying to find the hometown, and I thought that we could maybe go through a few things quickly to give you an idea of like where you can possibly find that hometown name, because without that, researching in Germany is really hard. There is no, general index. There's no census for the whole country. Germany, of course, was not a unified country until 1871. So, people, as we all wish, there was a general index that you could find your people, but there isn't. So you really have to try researching here as much as you can to find that hometown name. And of course the main things to find is things that your own family might have. They could have had the Bible that your ancestors brought with them and kept the information in for the baptisms and marriages, diaries and letters, and of course other relatives. That there's always a cousin perhaps that has something that was handed down from the family. You know, if you think your immigrant had 10 children, 8 children, whatever, that's a lot of descendants and a lot of cousins to check with. So somebody might have something, so you really need to check with them first. Death records is a good resource for sometimes finding the hometown name. Of course, a lot of times it just says Germany, but I've come across quite a few that list the town and the county even. So always look for death certificates, obituaries. If you came from a town that has a lot of German population, there's a lot of German newspapers also. So if you look in regular American newspaper, it might not be as much in there as a German one. So if your town had German newspapers, you need to check those too. Cemetery records, and also the cemetery and the headstone. There's quite a few times they have listed at least a county or a state that the people came from. So check in the cemetery, and especially we're lucky now that Find a Grave is putting so many things, pictures of them online. If you look through that to see whether you might not have to travel to the actual place they live to see their headstone. And wills. You never know. I was very surprised I had a great-grandmother that was from Germany. I never expected the woman to have a will, but she did, and I found that she left her clothes, believe it or not, to the one daughter that stayed in Germany, but it even was down to the street address where she lived. So you never know. Check the wills also. And the main thing that you really need to check here in the States are church records. I have a lot of people that come and talk to me when I'm at conferences and that, and my first question is always, have you checked for the church records here in the States for them? And a lot of people they'll say, well, I don't know what religion they were. I haven't checked that. But for the most part, immigrants, when they came to the United States, if they got married here, if they had children here and had them baptized, for the most part, a German immigrant usually followed some faith, either Catholic or Lutheran, Evangelisch. They had to have a religion in Germany. So that first generation, pretty many of them, they lived in a German community a lot of times when they came here. And, it was kind of frowned upon if they didn't go to church, but, not everybody did. But it's always the best resource for checking to find whether they mentioned the town name in the record. It's more prevalent in the Protestant faith, in the Lutheran and Evangelisch records that they mention in like a marriage record. I found one of my grandparents' marriage records in the church, and it gave the town names for both of them of where they came from. I had found it originally in an index and was happy with that, but when I checked the church records a couple years later, I found hometowns, and I could have saved myself a couple years of wondering where they came from if I would have looked at that. So you always want to check marriage records, especially for the immigrants, the first generation that came over. Marriages is usually where the people put their town name, the baptisms of their children, and the death records. I've seen some people in church death entry. They've been in the country 50 years or so, and they're still, the town name was mentioned in the death record. So you always need to do all of those. Am I running out of time, Thomas?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
No.
Well, was I finished with the check? Go back one.
Let's see. Okay.
Naturalizations. The only thing I'll mention about that is that if you don't even know an area of Germany that they came from, if you get their naturalization record, it sometimes will tell that they, disavow their allegiance to a particular, king or duke or something, and that would give you an idea of what state that they, probably lived in, an area of Germany. And from that, you can use some of the immigrant databases. We've listed a lot of those in our handout, that if they came from Baden, there's a Baden immigration index. You might have a at least you can narrow down the area. And the land records is, not as often, but sometimes if they were the original immigrants, when they came, they sometimes mentioned that they were previously from. I haven't seen that too often, but I have had somebody that told me that they found it in there. So, next.
Great.
And the military records, especially Civil War records, and I know online there's lots of pension index, but you want to order the whole file for this because a lot of times the index, the pension index, doesn't give you as much information as the whole file does. And in that file, if they were an immigrant, if they were born in Germany, a lot of times they will mention the town name in that. Publications of county histories or biographies, sometimes maybe your person might not be in there, they might not have made it, but if the town was settled by German immigrants, they might give the information for those people, and a lot of times because of chain migration, people came to where they knew somebody, so you want to see if there is a town or an area mentioned for these early immigrants that came to the area. You can try that for your own too. And membership records, by this I mean a lot of Germans love to join clubs, and they had Turnvereins, and one of mine belonged to an immigrant aid society, and in that memberships for that particular group, they had to give their town name of where they came from, and our local Genealogy Society had indexed that at one time and put it in there quarterly, and so here was his town name in that particular record. So check and see if your people did belong in a heavily German popular city. Maybe the city directories might list groups, or the county historical society or something like that might list some of the German groups that had different memberships records that are still available. And of course, most of us know about surname associations and message boards and mail lists. Those are, pretty good, and especially now, with the internet, we are able to connect with people in Germany quickly. And if you just post on there, sometimes you'll get a hit. The online trees, my only problem with online trees is that a lot of the information is bad. So if you find something on your family on those trees, just make sure that it's sourced and that they got documents. And even if they do, I would try to, go over it again myself. We've had quite a few people that have given us information that this is their hometown because they've gotten it off an online tree. And when we've contacted the town, it's not correct. And so, you got to do your work here first. You've got to find that you've got the correct town. And so when you're checking online trees, double check them. Chain migration, and that all these things that we mentioned before, all these different sources that you can try here in the United States for this, you want to check all of those things too for people that their relatives and associates that they were around them. They could be relatives that, maybe your person didn't leave the actual town, but his brother did. So you need to check it for everybody. They usually came to a place that they knew somebody from their village or a relative. So you need to check all their associates also. Okay.
Great. And why don't we come back to, do you want to do Heritage Travel now, or let's take a few questions?
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we do that? I want to take a few questions. You can enter your question in the admin panel for everyone that's there. We do have a few that were sent in via email. We will try to get to all of your questions live on the air if possible. If we don't get to your question, I'm sure that Kathy and Matthias will try and contact you because you've registered via email and try and get an answer to you. And I do have one here, and I'm going to actually see if I can copy it and post it in the chat panel, and I'm going to read it. It's from Peter. It says, in one light of my family, all research of records in the U.S. say that their hometown was in Crimmitschau, C-R-I-M-M-I-T-S-C-H-A-U, and I will post this here. and that is Peter's question. But after contacting their church in Crimmetshaw, the church only had records of their marriage and stated that no entries existed prior to the marriage. So it seems that Crimmetshaw was only the location for the marriage. What should Peter do? What would you do next if you have a marriage record and you're expecting a birth record, but it's not there?
I would look around the other parishes in the neighborhood first.
The parishes in the neighborhood, okay.
Yeah.
How would you find that out, Matthias?
I would see what towns are in the neighborhood, and then I would go online and see if they have a church.
If they have a church, okay. So you would
Well,
have to...
first
yeah.
you would do a Google map, find it on a map, and then,
Right.
Do the circle around, what is it, 20 miles or something around.
Yeah, that's a big
Right.
area.
And normally, a lot of times that does happen, is that they, maybe have only moved to that village, he might have come there for a marriage, and he was from someplace else, and that's why later on we're really going to stress about looking in church books to find your family in those first, because this does happen. They move around. But like he said, I would, look at a map, get all the little villages that are around that town, within a 20-mile radius or something, and then the best thing to try to do is take the town name, in the German town name, and then just Google that, www, whatever the town name is, .de. And most villages, even, unless they're really small, have a website. And from there you can get the Burgermeister's address, or the churches are sometimes listed on there, and try that. But I would imagine that that's the case, is that they were married in that town, but they both could be from someplace else.
Great. Here's another one. Here's from Nancy, and this is a live question. Any tips on finding family who remained in Prussia but were forced to leave Prussia after World War II?
That's a tough one. This I have to check. I cannot give an answer right now, really.
Okay. Okay. So you'll have to check on that, because Prussia, I mean, it covers so many different areas, right, Matthias?
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. Okay. Great. And we do have another Prussia question, which we'll come back to. Let me go to some of the live ones. Dorothy has one here, and I'm going to post it. Hold on a minute, and then we will go ahead and see if we can find an answer for it. There's the question. She says, passenger list. My great-grandfather and brothers lived just west of Danzig, now Gdansk, Poland, and left that area between 1858 and March 1859. They became U.S. citizens in Winona, Minnesota, and she hasn't been able to find them on passenger lists, looking at the Hamburg passenger lists, and also cannot find them on any Canadian passenger list. Now, is Danzig, that's an area, was that always Poland, or what's the history in it? I don't know if you have any resources to help her, Kathy or Matthias.
Well, let's see, I don't know when that was in Germany, what it was called.
Danzig was in
Danzig,
Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what years that was?
This became in 1795 or 1772 to Prussia, and then stayed there to Prussia and Germany until 1918.
Okay.
After 1918.
Right.
And you had sent us this question. We did a little bit of looking, but according to the Canadian Library and Archives, it says there's no list of immigrants before 1865 in any of the Canadian records.
Right.
And if they lived to 1900, I don't know if they lived to 1900 to get an immigration date, off of the 1900 census. I was wondering if the purpose of this was to try to find a hometown name, or if she knows if they are from.
Right. Right.
Because a lot of times the ship's records sometimes don't tell them. If she tried the indirect Hamburg list? And,
yeah, it seems like her question mostly she knows, she's pretty sure where they came from, but she can't locate them on the passenger list, on any passenger list.
Yeah,
and
a lot of them still have been, a lot of passenger lists were lost too. Not everything survived. And, I'm trying to think of the indirect list, if they, if she hasn't looked through those,
right.
she can try that.
Okay.
If they, But I was just going to tell her, I do know a Polish guide
Right.
that our researcher, if she needs help with that, she
Okay.
can get in touch
And
with
Dorothy's on as well, and she says right now she knows the hometown for them. So yeah, so also the handout might be helpful. I'm sure that you've got resources on there.
Well, if she knows the hometown, then too, in Germany they were supposed to fill out immigrant papers when they left.
Right.
So if she knows the hometown, it's possible that there's a chance that there could be immigrant papers in like a city archive or some kind of an archive there, and that would at least tell you when they applied for immigration.
Right.
And
okay. Good. Good. Well, next question, we're going to go to one that was mailed in, and this one was from Jolene, and it says, my German descendants, as she says German in quotes, immigrated to Kansas in the late 1850s from Dölitz, Pomeranian province, I think that's what she means there, which is now Poland. So what's the best place for her to do research? Is it in Germany? Is it in Poland?
Well, the first thing I wanted to bring to her attention and other people's attention on this, her town name is Dölitz, D-O-E. And so a lot of times if you have a town that has an A, an O, or a U with an E behind it, it more than likely was a town with that vowel that had an umlaut over it, the two little dots over it.
Right.
So I looked at, this was a question you had sent us earlier, and I looked on Family Search in their catalog to see if they had any information on this, and it's D-O umlaut L-I-T-Z, and they have evangelisch church records online even at Family Search for this particular town.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, yeah, Jolene, if you're listening, that might be, so Family Search might be a way to look for some of the church records there on Family Search.
They are online on Family Search, and we also got a couple of links for her too. There's a particular website that has just information on this particular town. And Matthias, you can...
Yeah, just posted it.
Just posted it, okay.
Right.
And also a second link, there's a Yahoo group for this particular county. So she has questions on there. But you got the church books.
Okay.
And you got some genealogy information on
And so I'm going to repost this link, and there it is. And what is that link is for Dölitz. So that is the link for Dölitz. And so that is very helpful. Great. Well, thank you. We're going to go to a live question, Kathy and Matthias, if that's okay. And this one is from Bruce, and I'm going to go ahead and post it in the panel, and then I'm going to read it out loud. I have a 2 times great uncle who was a parish priest in Paderborn and in Erfurt. We contacted the diocese, and they could only provide birth, death, and ordination dates. No story at all about him. Is there a different source than the diocese? So if the diocese only had, age, rank, and serial number, all just the details, where would you go for more information about a parish priest?
Parish priest. The diocese would be the best one.
Yeah, the church archives. And then, a lot of times I think sometimes they tell people that's it,
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's some kind of a biographies, or they had to have a little bit more information than that on everyone.
Right. Now, would this be a case, Kathy and Matthias, where someone, we're having someone, even if you hired someone to go to the diocese archives,
yes,
would be better than just calling?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
because like I said, they like to put you off sometime and say that, just like here where we get the, everything's been burned or something. So sometimes they don't want to take the time to look for things. And it does help if you have someone to go there that knows what they're looking for.
Yeah,
but I would imagine there'd be a biography or some little bit more information than that.
Right, right. Well, that's good. Good. Well, let's go to the next question. This is a live question from Jay. Jay is saying here, and I'm going to post it so that you can see it. How do you determine the location of an old location, the current location on Google Maps? So we touched upon this briefly. One is he's looking for Diemke, number 16, Westfalen, Germany. Now that is in Westphalia, so maybe Matthias can try and answer that.
I think he probably means a house number, Matthias.
Yeah, right. I probably know also the town because it's one of my hometowns.
That's one of your hometowns.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how would someone go and figure out,
Well,
hey, this is an old location, and now a current location?
I would go to what is on Ancestry. I would go to Myers Odds. What is
Right. Right. And we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and also the town itself, the farms and the homes were numbered, when they first started out, and then in the was it 1972 or something?
It's in the 1970s they changed the system. Yeah.
When they changed the house numbers and that. So a lot of times you're going to have to find like a local historian or a local researcher that has done the research on those old house numbers.
Right.
A lot of times in the church books, when you find a baptism or something, it lists that number. I don't know that that's going to be on Google or that's going to be on any map. You have
No.
It has to have a researcher that has done that.
Right. And I think Myers Orts, you've posted, the link is in the handout, and I also just posted it, Kathy Matthias, in the chat panel, at least on Ancestry. So that is really helpful as well.
And
Yeah.
one more thing on that. I know from past experience on some of our trips, we've had a researcher that has gone to the archives for someone, and you always try to get a local researcher, but they did keep these books sometimes in the archives, the old church or the old house number books in either in the city archives of the city itself or village
Right.
itself,
Yeah,
or in the county one.
Yeah,
Good.
the Rathaus, they have it normally too.
Good. Good. Okay, let's go to one of our sent-in questions. This is from Dorothy, and Dorothy is asking about church records. She says, where do I look to find evangelical church records for Plauen, Pomerania, Prussia, just west of Stettin, which is, Mecklenburg, and I can't pronounce this in Poland, for the time period 1850 and earlier. She couldn't find any church records in Family Search.
Well, this is another one of those, the town name should be, because of the OE there, it is Plauen, P-L-O umlaut, W-E-N. So in Family Search, which I was surprised at because I was doing this myself here recently,
Right.
You have to use the umlaut, and there's a character map on most computer systems.
Sure.
I don't know what it is for Mac, but you can find it. And there's other ways to get the umlaut on there. But I know in Family Search now, because I couldn't find it if I just did OE, but doing the O umlaut, and also in some of those immigrant databases that we have listed in there, they're German. They have a umlaut on their keyboard, so they put it in there that way. So you have to use that. But this particular one, we found that the records had been in the Regensburg archives in Germany.
Okay.
But in 2002, they were given back to the diocese in Poland. Matthias found this information
Right,
for me.
right.
But Regensburg still has microfilms, but unfortunately, Dorothy, not for the time period. They've got 1809 to 1880 baptisms, no marriage records, and 1819 through 1913 for the deaths. But he's going to give you...
Great. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear
Okay.
us?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. And I have the link, and I posted it. I think I posted the link there. And so that should help. So, great. Okay. I have another question. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Great. This is from Doug, and this is a live question. I'm going to go ahead and post it. He says, the Leiden collection of index cards transcribing records from many places, including Brandenburg, specifically the Uckermark, have provided great clues for my research. The Family History Library does not have films of the churches that Doug needs, Burkholz, Rausau, Zetheren. Will I have to go to that area and do research on site? Are the church books in an archive in Berlin?
Well, one thing is are these for Evangelisch or Catholic or records?
Right. Right.
Because there is a new church book portal that's in beta testing right now. It's called Archion, archion.de.
Okay.
And it's a combination of a lot of archives in Germany that are submitting their church books to go online. It's going to be a pay site.
Okay.
but you can pay for a few days, like 20 days at a time.
Right.
And not everything's there. Like I said, it's still in beta testing. Matthias is a beta tester for them.
And how do you spell that again?
It's ARCHION.E.
.de. Okay, let me see. I'm going to try and pull it up here and then post it. So that is something that might work as well. There it is. And also, if you're on Google Chrome like I am, they nicely translate that for you. Yes.
And
so
Matthias, is that area that he's speaking about? Is that one of the?
Uckermark is going to be online. They have already some stuff of Berlin archives online so far. Yeah.
So they do have, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be slowly but surely. They can't upload everything, but it's giving us hope, a lot of us, German research, for areas that have never been filmed before. And I think in March they're supposed to go online.
Okay, good. Ed has I'm jumping around here at questions. Some are older, some are newer. Ed has a current one, a good one that I think is something a lot of us might have. He's saying that how do you send money to a relative in Germany for research without offsetting feelings? I guess without hurting their feelings. They're providing a lot of hard work and research.
The best way is technical through PayPal. And if a relative really don't want to have it, you have no chance to give it to them.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Usually PayPal is the best, or else Germans send each other money through wire transfer to each other's bank.
Right.
So you could get their banking information. Of course, on our end, it costs to send a wire transfer.
Right.
I have had people tell me that they've, like put 20 euros or something in a card and sent it, but you're taking a chance on that. But PayPal.
Okay, good. Here's one, and I think this is going to be a common question. Joan is saying, you mentioned, Kathy, you can sometimes find the state on the naturalization or other American records, but you might not get a hometown. What do you do in that case where you have a state or a province but no town name? What's your next step to go and find the town?
Well, we listed a lot of immigrant databases in our handout.
Okay.
Some of the archives have been putting together, like I said, Germans were supposed to apply for immigration when they left, and this required them to fill out paperwork at their local county, some kind of a tax office or whatever it was, a civil courts building or something. Now, not everybody did that. Everyone has the family member that they said, just immigrated illegally, but a lot of them did. And like for Baden-Württemberg, there's a really great immigrant database on there that lists their last place of residence. We've provided links in there for that. And that's, kind of the top idea for me is to look at that. And then also, as I said before, is try to find people that they associate it with, if who they, where they came from. But these immigrant databases are your best source.
Right. Okay. Linda has a good question. There's a little bit of a story behind it, but I think I can consolidate it. I know the details are important, but she's talking about her grandfather who was born in Bad Herrenalb and born out of wedlock. So, she's not been able to find a record marriage. She has some information there. She's saying typically would a non-married couple in Germany live as a common law couple in the U.S., or maybe would they have gotten married maybe in France before they left?
Well, this is really a big question because as we mentioned that both of us belong to my Germans in St. Louis group, and we have quite a few people in there that constantly ask this illegitimate question. That was very common in Germany, in parts of Germany, that for various reasons they weren't allowed to get married. Possibly they didn't have enough money. You were supposed to be able to prove that you could take care of each other, and we have people that have 8 children, illegitimately, but maybe one of them was not a citizen of the village that they lived in. They wouldn't let them marry for that reason, but there's lots of, and they usually are still mentioned in the church books, even though the child was baptized, it might not mention the father's name, or it might say illegitimate, or sometimes they write the entry in upside down to show that that was illegitimate. But what was the rest of the question? What was she?
Basically, she just was saying, now, do you think that they would have gotten married in France before they boarded the ship? And what marriage status would they pursue in the U.S.? Would they try to get married, or would they stay as just, common law?
Well, we have one instance, a friend of mine that has this situation, and that's she keeps, is really trying to find this. They ended up coming to the States and ended up in St. Louis, and of course by this time they had 8 children, and that's what she said. She's never been able to find a marriage record here in the States for them at all. And my thought is they had 8 children together. They've been living together for how long, and nobody here knows if they're married or if they're not married, so they probably just didn't do anything about it. I don't know. But they possibly, when they had the opportunity to get married, a lot of them would, so I would look locally as to where they ended up coming.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Whether they got married in France or not, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to post a nice compliment from Cindy here for you. She said that she wanted to put a plug in for family tree tours. She went with you and Matthias to visit her hometowns in Westfalen and Niedersachsen, right, about 3 years ago, and she said it was a trip of a lifetime, that Matthias, you had unearthed cousins from her families and united a family that had been separated for 3 generations, and that 15 cousins met her at the village. So she just wanted to throw that in there, and so that's always nice to hear, right?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great. A good question from Stanley, and this has to do with spelling, and I'm going to put it right here in the question panel so you guys can read it, and I will narrate it. He's saying he's read that Germans would have the spelling of their surname changed to aid pronunciation once they came to the U.S. Have you heard this, and is it true? He's thinking his ancestor spelling changed from IE to EI about 1900, but they maintain the original pronunciation through today, even though it's spelled differently, as it should be pronounced.
Yeah.
Spelling.
Yeah, I would say if they came to the USA, they spoke only German or the local dialect, and the person who has written down their last name spoke only probably English or other German dialect, and so a misspelling is quite normal.
And even in German church records, even in Germany, they spelling was not so important for them. You might see the name spelled several different ways, even in the same, record.
Right.
So
okay.
I don't think that it's uncommon that would be changed like that.
Okay, great. We have another question. I'm just hopping around here. I'm trying to give a good variety, everyone, so we've got a lot of questions. I hope you can understand. We may not get to everyone. So Verna has a question, and this is from Verna. It has to do with maps. She found Minden, M-I-N-D-E-N, as a city, and she was told by a German person that Minden was a county. So she's trying to find Hartum, H-A-R-T-U-M, and it's close to Minden. What do what if you're told that it's one type of city or county, and is it confusing? Is the system of naming? Can there be a county with a city name, and vice versa?
Yeah.
Yes, I can. But Minden is a town first, and there was also a Minden County. But in this town, Hartum is not far away from Minden.
Okay.
And in the St. Louis County Library, and also here, Katie at home, she has Arts Family books.
Right.
We have the Arts Family books. This is a town. Hartum, as he said, is outside of Minden, and the Arts Family book is the family register book, which we haven't had a chance to talk about that yet. But
right.
I have those here at my house and also at the county library. But yes,
right.
Just like here in the States, you get a county and a town that's named. Could be Washington in Washington
right.
County.
Right. Good. Question from Lynn, and so this has to do with parish churches. She's wondering, how do you find the names of the churches if you know the towns where your ancestors lived? And she's saying Volkenroth, Wertheim in Baden-Württemberg is one. Is there an overall listing, or how do you find those parish church names?
Overlisting is not what I know about. So,
Go ahead.
And what I normally do, I try to Google it. I try to Google it, like to say, this Fockenroth Kirche or evangelische Kirche or Wertheim evangelische Kirche. And if this doesn't help, then I go to the church archive or to the church state archive online and see if they have a list there, and what will tell me where this parish is.
Okay.
Let me tell you easier way.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Do they?
What's the German way?
Yeah, that's the German way. But if she knows the town name, as he said, just Google the town name. Usually, you can go to Wikipedia and type in that town name, and if you want to use .de for Deutschland, and then that usually gives you the history of the town. It'll name the churches and gives you pictures and everything there. Also, if you go to whatever the town name is and just put www.townname.de, that's going to bring you up the town's website, and you can look under, like you said, if you use Google Chrome, it translates it for you. Sometimes some of it are in English. Sometimes it'll give a list on there of churches in the, say, Kirche, Kirche, on the left-hand side or wherever they have their list, and that gives the church name in there. Also, you can go to, I think this might be in the handout, Das Telefonbuch, the German telephone book, and when you put in, instead of a person's name, you just put in the name Kirche, Kirche, and then your town name in the place. That'll give you the names of the churches.
Okay, great. And I'm looking up Das Telefonbuch, and here it is. And I'm going to put the link up there, and it is a .de link, and that's great. So I'll post that in a minute. But what I do want to do is I want to post our next question, Kathy and Matthias. It's from Jenny. She's asking about farm histories. Are there such things in Germany? Are there written histories of farms, or what type of farm records would there be if she's trying to locate more information on her ancestors, and she knows specifically that they owned farms?
Yeah, probably in the archives. We've now Emsland. Is that where she said Emsland?
Emsland probably was Catholic, probably this area.
But we found in the is it the state archives?
Yeah, it should be the state archive.
In state archive, they have those type of records, and if she knows where the town was and she knows the farm name, and if she's lucky enough to know the farm number, like we were talking about before, they do have those records in state archives.
Okay, great. And let's see. Fiona has one here, and that I'm going to. And she's connecting from New Zealand. She is
my goodness.
Yeah, I know. We have quite an international crowd here. Fiona is saying that she wondering if they keep cemetery memorial inscriptions in books in Hanover, or will she have to go through something like Find a Grave? Is there any list of cemetery inscriptions?
Well, we just did he's here visiting in the States, and we just did a presentation to my German research group about German cemeteries. Everybody asks this question, and there aren't any old graves in Germany. They only lease the plots for 20 to 30 years, but where you would find something is in the church books itself, the death record entry. They sometimes, as we showed in our presentation, that sometimes there's some old stones that might be put up against the wall or something.
And then you're very lucky. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also I had found an article about funeral sermons that they sometimes they would have prepared a funeral sermon, and those were, Family Search got some of those listed. But as far as an inscription from an old gravestone in Germany, there wouldn't be any usually, unless your person was a nobleman or something like that.
Sure, because the graves were turned over, they were leased.
The graves are reused, yes.
Right, and not necessarily did someone say, oh, let me write this down before we take it away. Good. Okay,
that's why I was interested. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, one last question, then I want to go back to the slides and make sure we have enough time to wrap up. Chris is saying, he's asking Matthias specifically, where does he go now, to which archive, to look for military records for his great-grandfather who was severely wounded in the 1870 to 71 Franco-Prussian War. He believes he was in the Jever Hospital in 1885. Yeah.
I would probably go to the State Archive in Ulrich, or maybe Oldenburg.
Okay.
Oldenburg or Ulrich.
Ulrich. And how is Ulrich is
Why don't you
spelled?
type that?
Yeah.
I type it.
Okay. Great. And that would be a way to do that. Kathy, I'm going to bring up the slides again on Heritage Travel. I thought maybe if you wanted to give us an overview of, let's say that someone reaches a point where they've collected all their ancestral town names, or maybe they're not ready. Maybe just they say, my goal is, July of 2015, I want to go over to Germany and research. So you can walk them through what can get them prepared and some advice.
Okay. Well, the first thing is start months in advance. Don't expect to be able to get all this information ready and to find contacts in the areas that you need to be in a short time. So, start your plan way in advance. If you know your town or village, find it on a map. There's lots of towns that have the same name. And so that's why this state or the county is also important to know, because if you type it into Google, just that first name, it could, there could be 5 or 10 of the same town names. So you have to know the second part of it also. And as we said, research in the U.S. as much as possible that you know that you've got that town name directly. If you do find it and Family Search has the microfilms for it, I would suggest a lot of, like you said, Thomas, at the beginning, a lot of these church records are going online. We've given a big list of those in our handout. Do that here. Don't, waste your time going to an archive, because you're going to see the same thing for those church books if you go to an archive there that you see here. The the archives in Germany mainly have all their records on either microfilm or microfiche more often than microfilm, and you're not going to see the church book itself unless sometimes, if you're lucky, when you go to the town itself, you can see a church book, or you go to a church office. Sometimes they'll let you look at the church books if they have them. But if you're going to research in an archive, you're going to see a microfilm or microfiche. So if you can do that here at the Family History Library or online, I would do that. Look for an art sippin book. Those are, if your town has an art sippin book, which is usually done by a local historian or somebody from the area that has put together, they've used the church books and they've put together a family register of everybody in the village. And those art sippin books, if you get one of those for your town, you're pretty lucky, because it's typed and it's pretty able to walk you through the generations back. A lot of those we've included in our handout, some links for some of those that are online a little bit. I have to put a plug-in for our county library here in St. Louis. Our genealogy and history department has what is it, Matthias, over 200 or so of them.
Yeah, 200, 300, yeah, I would say.
And we've included the link on that for the PDF index of what they have there. So if you have a town name, check those to see if there's a family book made for that. Try to make a contact in your hometown before you go, so that somebody's there that knows you're coming, is going to meet you. I speak to a lot of people who, say, oh, we've gone and driven through the town and the church wasn't open, and the history museum wasn't open, or this wasn't open, or no one spoke English, and, you've gone all that way. You want to make the most of your trip. So just like here, the churches are locked, and sometimes these little Heimat museums, which are historical societies, are only open 1 day a week. So try to make a contact in your hometown beforehand. And I've kind of put a few instructions in our handout about that too, about how you can use the town's website to contact somebody. And of course, make sure you know what you're going for, all the research that you need, and you want to get a picture of the church, you want to get this or that. Know what time the archives and the churches are open. Archives in Germany, you usually have to make an appointment. Usually cost a little bit of money for you to go to there. Some of these archives that we've been in, there might be 6 or 7 seats in there, so those things could be taken up for months in advance, somebody making an appointment there, so do that ahead of time. Civil Register Office. After 1874, Germans had civil registration, so those records are in usually the Burgermeister's, the mayor's office. But you have to know what time they're open. List, maybe there's something in the area of where your ancestor came from that is a big sightseeing thing. So make sure you look around the area, see what you can see. Make a list of items that you need to bring. And mainly, of course, your camera. I tell people when they're going to visit their hometown, if you've got the opportunity to talk with a local historian or genealogist, or if you're lucky enough, your family members, bring a little recorder. Of course, everybody's phone records things now or whatever. There's going to be talking back and forth that's flying, and you might not remember everything, so try to record it. And bring a little gift for your contacts or relatives. If you've made a contact with someone, you want to bring them something. If it's a relative or a local historian, people ask me all the time, what should we bring? But for us, when we go on heritage trips and they're going to meet somebody in their town, I tell them to bring a book. It could just be a little binder or whatever of the immigrant and his descendants, what happened to him. A lot of the people that we contact are local historians that are doing that, trying to find out what happened to immigrants. And so they're interested, and of course if it's your family member, they'd be interested in seeing what happened to somebody that left. So those are just a few little tips for that of when you're going to plan on, going over there yourself. Just my biggest thing is just start way in advance.
Right, exactly. Now, tell me, I've not been on one of your tours. We have one or two attendees who have been and have spoken of your praises. Tell us about, what is a typical tour? Maybe tell us what's coming up. What do you have coming up?
Well, let's see. In May of next year, we're going to this northwest area where Minden and Hartum and those places are. We usually go to an area of Germany a couple of times a year. We pick an area so that we can stay in one place. And we, stay in one place the whole time, and we take day trips out by train. Our groups are usually 10 to 16 people, so it's not a large group. And we visit the archives. I have people give us an overview of what's available in archive. And also if you're going on your own too, there's living history museums. They're called Freilich museums in Germany, and they're specific to each area of Germany. It shows you, it's like our Williamsburg. It shows you what type of farms they would have had, and what the tradesman shops would have looked like. But it gives you a good idea of what type of home or village that your person would have lived in, if you don't actually get to see the actual house they lived in, which a lot of times are still there. And then we also visit the immigrant museums in Bremerhaven or Hamburg if we're up that way. And then we have 3 days during the tour where that's where everybody goes out to their hometowns, that Matthias has made a contact in the town for you, somebody that speaks English, and will show you around the town and make sure the church is open and the museum is open. And in some cases they will do more research for you. We also provide independent tours if people want to go on their own. We help you make a contact in the town for you if you're going on your own. And we do private tours where he and I will take people, small groups or 1 or 2 persons, whoever. And then we have had a lot of people that want to go and do a river cruise, and then want to stay in Germany and visit their hometown. So when I say the river cruise, then if people stay a few extra days, we also make the contacts in the town for them, or we've met people and taken them to their hometowns after that.
That's excellent. That's great. And so you have one coming up May. Is that going to be your next tour?
Yeah, we've got a Salt Lake City research trip where we're trying to help people to say, if you can do your research here ahead of time, let's find the towns and find the books there.
Right.
And then in May we go into the northwest part of Germany, and also in August we're doing a new tour. Matthias won't be with me on this one, but we're doing Sweden Heritage Trip. And then we're trying to expand a little, and we're doing a Baden trip down in the southwest part of near the Baden-Alsace border. Right. And we got a couple of private tours in there too, so summer's kind of full, but we're working, and we usually try to do different areas of Germany each year. So next 2016 we're thinking of Mecklenburg and probably East Friesland, and and So, you know, if you've got a group or if you've got a, you know, a couple people that would like to go to an area, we're always looking for, you know, where would you like to go, and we can build a trip around that.
Right. Perfect. Well, listen, before we close out, I'm going to take one last question. And I'm sorry we couldn't get to everyone, but this is from Fiona because I think it's interesting. Excuse me, and most people may have a similar. She's saying church records often seem to end, online when civil registration begins around 1871. So, but she's been unable, Fiona has been unable to find civil records, and she hasn't had any luck with Family Search or Ancestry.com. What would you recommend in terms of where to look for, you know, she knows the church records, but she needs the civil records after 1871.
For that, I would contact directly the hometown because they are normally located in the Rathaus.
In the Rathaus.
In the Rathaus.
The mayor's office.
Okay, mayor's office. So you contact the hometown. You could probably find that information on google.de.
Well, you go to their, do their hometown.de, and when they get to the website, it's usually going to say Burger Office or Burgermeister, and that's where the civil records are kept.
Right. Perfect. And again, take advantage. This is why I like the Google Chrome browser, is it will translate for me automatically. Well, listen, we're at the end here, and I want to thank you, everyone. I know that we only had an hour, and unfortunately, we couldn't even get to everything that was emailed in. So I'm going to leave the email up here, info@familytreetours.com. Kathy, I want to thank you. Matthias, I want to thank you. I learned a few things, and this is going to help me with my German Hennebergs and my herrings and my, you know, because not just Germany, it's also, I'm one of those people with ancestors in Prussia and all these different regions. But at least this is good information. And again, we will be sending the handout. Anything you want to say in closing?
Well, I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity. And second of all, if people do have questions that they want to ask, please feel free to email us. We'll do our best to answer everybody and give you some hints. And if you don't see it on the handout, just let us know, and we'll be glad to help you.
Great. And look for, yeah, go ahead, Matthias. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for the patience with us, especially me.
I tell you, this is not easy. I mean, I've done these Ask the Expert, you know, even in person, and some you cannot possibly field every question. It's one of those things, you know, and you feel kind of vulnerable sometimes. But, you know, afterwards you go and you do a little research, and people appreciate when you email and you say, hey, this is what I found. I think this is what you need. So I'm going to sign off here. Thomas MacEntee here for Family Tree Tours with German Genealogy Q&A. I want to thank everyone. And so have a good night. And so we will see you next time. And, again, look for an email from Kathy and Matthias. And have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.